Good evening, everyone. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided by sending such notice to the Asbury Park Trust, the Middletown Patch, and the Middletown Township Public School District website, and the posting of such notice at the Augustine Minor administrative offices in each elementary, middle, and secondary school website in the districts. Roll call.
Mrs. Kennedy.
Here.
Mr. Donlin.
Here.
Mr. Jarmo.
Here.
Mr. Heffernan. Mr. Little. Mrs. Tobacco.
Here.
Mrs. Wright. Here. Mr. Capone.
Here.
Mrs. Mendes.
Here. I need a motion to go into executive session for matters of personnel, contracts, and negotiations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
One.
Good evening, everyone. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided by sending such notice to the Asbury Park Press, the Middletown Patch, the Middletown Township Public School District website, and the posting of such notice at the Augustine Minor Administrative Offices in each elementary, middle, and secondary school website in the district. Roll call.
Mrs. Caminiti?
Here.
Mr. Donlin?
Here.
Mr. Jarmo? Mr. Heffernan,
Here.
Mr. Little?
Here.
Mrs. Tobacco? Here. Mrs. Wright?
Here.
Mr. Capone?
Here.
Mrs. Muniz?
Here. Before we stand to pledge of allegiance, we're going to have a moment of silence for a longtime dedicated custodian, Charles Wells, from Lincroft Elementary School. He passed away on September 26th. Mr. Wells served as the district since 2001 and was the husband of Ruth Wells, a retired Ocean Avenue Elementary school teacher. We extend our deepest condolences to the Wells family. Also for Alex Savage, 24-year-old former student of Middletown Special Education Program. He was the most kindest, dedicated student and young man that I've ever seen to our district. You would find him at High School North or High School South at any sporting event, supporting all the teams. Everyone knew him. He had a heart of gold. Our prayers and our thoughts go out to his family. If anyone is interested and has time, his services are Friday at Fleegers from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock only. So if we get a chance, everybody please go and show your support for his family and respect, and may he rest in peace. Can we please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, at this time, we're going to open for public comment on agenda items only.
Here, Paseki, Bashar Drive, Middletown. Personnel, item 12. I'd just like to comment on the item on Mr. Parcells. I worked with him, I don't want to age myself, but it was probably more than 10 years ago on the elementary facilities ad hoc committee. It's a great committee. It prioritized getting new mom and its walls in their pod. They didn't have walls, and a lot of other things done. And he is a quiet leader, but when something's wrong and it's serious, you know he's upset. He's going to fix it. And I would just like to say that I think this is an investment we should make. Item 12. Thank you.
I just want to say that we're thankful that Mr. Parcells agreed to come back and help us when we had a need for someone to step in.
Okay, seeing no one else at the mic, that close the public portion. I need a motion to approve the proclamation for Alpha Delta Kappa Month.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions. I need a motion to approve the minutes for executive session on 8/18, the pre-meeting workshop 8/18, executive session 8/24, and the voting meeting on 8/24.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
I object to the pre-meeting workshop meeting minutes of August the 18th, 2021, as well as the voting meeting minutes of August the 24th.
Thank you. Okay, under the report of the president, I do want to say we've been trying to attend as many back-to-school nights as we can. It's really nice to see everybody back in the buildings. Parents are excited to be able to go into the classrooms, meet their teachers in person, and see what their kids are actually up to. And everyone that I've been to, it's been a positive experience. So we still have a few more to go. I know tonight I went to Navastate before here, and they're pretty well attended. So we still have a few more to go in the next couple of weeks. So it's a good thing to see everybody back. All right, under the report of the business administrator, I need a motion for number 1 through 4.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
I think I just have some questions about some of the items in terms of the bill list, in terms of the legal expenses. I noticed that I guess in July and August, apparently we were doing work on the critical race theory, called CRT. And it seems like, I don't know, I just counted the $2,000, $2,500. And yeah, I know this has been a topic, I guess, out there. Being on the curriculum committee and legislative committee, I don't remember the topic coming up as something that the board was looking into. It's not something that I'm aware of as being the chair of the curriculum committee. I know that we had to do state mandates for health and call it social studies. And I know that members of the curriculum committee, we went through the written curriculum that was obviously shared and voted on by the board. And I don't know if there's any instances where anything like that was found. I know there were some edits, and the final answer that we had, at least the biggest part from curriculum, was an honors elective for 11th and 12th graders, which kind of was a catch-all that would help us, I guess, get to the CUSAC, which would basically score you how you meet the mandates. I guess my concern here is that this is a topic that, I guess in the news media or, wherever you're going to see it. I just don't know why we're spending money, legal expenses on it. And I don't know if there's anything coming out of the pipe, or maybe we're a curriculum meeting, or I think in a couple of weeks, it's not on the agenda. So I just like to understand who authorized that and what it is we're trying to do here. And some of the work that I saw there was things like putting together a map of other states' bans on critical race theory concept in 1691 project, downloading House bills from states that pass the CRT bans, and prepare a chart on state status. I mean, some of this stuff is stuff that people can Google on their own. If there's people on the board that are interested in this, you can Google it or whatnot. So I just want to understand who authorized this sort of work. Did it come through a committee or did it come from a board meeting? I'm not sure.
Hey, John, I asked a lot of questions about some of the stuff that was in the curriculum. So I don't know if that billing was coming from me or not, but I had a lot of questions when I was going through the curriculum before we approved it, and questions that I had. So,
So in the meeting, yeah, we asked a lot of questions, right? I think it's me, you, Jackie, or myself, you, Jackie, Frank, we're on it, but the council doesn't attend those meetings. So I can't imagine if $2,500 work, and some of the work here is not just phone calls, it's actually work to produce, looks like a policy of some sort. So
It was in the policy committee.
Oh, there's a policy committee?
I believe so. There's a private policy. That's where it was originated from, and we never brought it to.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't remember ever discussing that in any of our policy committees. It was never raised.
And then I ask, is that not for an argument on CRT? I just, I think when we spend the money, the school district's money, I think we need to have an understanding whether this is a direction that we're going in terms of the board, or we think there's some sort of items out there that might come down from the state. I mean, at the end of the day, we are not lawmakers here, right? Municipalities, we also have state representatives who've been kind enough to come to our meetings. This is sort of their job to figure out what their constituents want and to promote and to talk about these type of topics. I think the assembly person come to our meeting. I just don't know if this is someplace the board. So I just want to understand, you're saying this came from a committee or someone else sort of approved the legal work?
This is a good question, John, because you're the chair of the curriculum, and I don't remember having a meeting for curriculum in over 5-6 months. So I'm a little confused of where this actually is coming myself.
Well, I don't know why you're confused, because I never called our council about any topics, and the issue with curriculum, it's not really an issue, but it's the same person, well, we've been working together. I work together with Kim. First of all, I don't need to give you an explanation for that, because this has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with
making
is
a
that.
statement that we haven't had a meeting in over 6 months, that you never called a meeting for curriculum.
Well, let's get back to what the legal fees are, right? Because this wasn't discussing curriculum, and I'm just saying.
It could have been discussing curriculum, but you haven't had a meeting for over 6 months.
Oh, so hold on, let me get straight. So what you're saying is that board members use council services regardless of whether it comes up at a committee at a board meeting, because it didn't come up at a.
Did you hear me say that? I'll say it one more time to you.
No,
didn't call a
I
curriculum
hear
meeting
what you're
for
saying,
6
Frank.
months.
What you're saying is irrelevant. It has nothing to do with
Is that irrelevant? I don't think it's irrelevant.
Every board meeting, we talk about curriculum topics, whether we have a meeting or not, right? We have curriculum topics in our workshop. We have curriculum topics in our voting unit. Kim and Dr. Kerrigan are very kind enough to give any kind of updates. There really haven't been any other updates besides the fact, as the administration is described, some of the work with COVID, some of the work with personnel have been a little bit taxing to find time for our administration. In 6 months, I'll take a look at whether 6 months seems like an exaggeration, but we do have one. It's October 6th, but that's irrelevant. The question is who authorized this work? And I'm not arguing whether CRT, I'm indifferent to that. I just want to understand why this is coming up, and it's not something that's been proposed by the state. And I haven't seen it come through any board.
So John, you or anyone on the board really can speak to the attorney if you have a question or legal.
$2,500.
I'm not aware of the charge, John.
It's on the bill list.
It's under the July and August.
It's on the list from our council.
It's very detailed.
So anyway, I wanted to, all I'm going to say is did anybody here approve it, or we just saying, I don't, that's my question, because before I voted on it, so I want to understand if it was something that senior
I'm
person.
sure somebody
But
approved.
I don't recall exactly who had requested it, but generally I only speak to the president and vice president, and it's separate from administration, unless another board member seeks approval of the board president to speak to me. So I assure you, I have plenty of work. I don't need to create work, and someone had asked about it, and we looked into it, and it's on the bill.
So based on that statement, can we assume then that this direction, this authorization to you to look into this, to do research, to do analysis, to prepare a chart, and to issue a memorandum, which we've never seen, was either given to you by Mrs. Minwes or Mr. Capone?
I don't recall exactly, so I'm not going to say.
But we typically only take communications from the board president or the vice president.
I understand. Are you very upset?
I certainly am.
That's fair enough.
We know nothing about
It's fair enough.
Mr. John, generally,
But
I do a lot of research that I talk to Mary Ellen, Mr. Ranella, Mr. Kirkpatrick, Kim. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you're not aware of.
who authorized this particular work.
Tom, we'll get back to you on that. How's that?
But
Okay.
Mr. Padula is here tonight.
And we'll get back to you. You mentioned my
Mr.
name. so I
Chima,
can jump in.
I answered the question. I said, I don't recall specifically, but I didn't create this. And I told you, generally, I speak to board members, only the president, vice president, or certain chair people. If they request.
okay,
Mr. Padula, there's 12 instances at least of our board interaction with you on this critical race theory. So somebody called you about something. So
I'm happy.
The question is what?
I'm happy to look at the bill. I'm happy to look at the bill. I'm not going to do it right now in the middle of a meeting and speak about legal matters. So thank you. I'll review it and get back to you.
Go ahead.
Mr. John, when did you receive a copy of this bill?
It's on our board portal.
When was it on the portal? Can you please step away from me? When was it on the portal? When was it on the portal?
Well, it's on.
Oh, it's been on the portal for some time, but you wait till we're here to bring this up when I didn't even get a chance to see it. If you had some common courtesy or professional courtesy as an attorney, you could have asked Joan, hey, I got some questions about the bill. Do you mind if I talk to Bruce beforehand? No, instead of confronting me here.
Council, this is a public meeting where we're talking about voting on the bill. So in fairness, it has to be discussed in public. So
No, in fairness, if you have questions about a bill from 3 months ago, work being done 3 months ago.
These are recently posted.
July and August.
Okay, and Friday is October.
So for my purposes, I got my answer,
We
so.
don't control when
that's
your
all right.
bills come in for us to approve them.
You said they were on the portal for some time.
For
If you,
this meeting, they've been on the portal for this
meeting.
meeting.
you didn't get them right before we walked in.
No.
Did you?
No.
I'm saying, you know how many bills and clients I have, and you're gonna ask me about 12 entries?
Right, and we all have daytime jobs, and so they were on the portal since last week, and now that we've had a chance to actually fully review, which we have the responsibility to do before we authorize.
I'm not saying you
They're
don't.
asking
I'm not
now.
saying you don't have the ability to review it, but I'm saying you didn't look at it right as you walked in here, so you had a chance to ask questions beforehand. I could have reviewed notes or reviewed the bill. Instead, you're handing me a bill in the middle of a public meeting, asking me questions about one of my 100 clients.
Bruce, who authorized this?
I told you, I don't recall who specifically asked me,
Can I just
but I
say-
speak to
All right,
people.
excuse me, I'm just gonna answer this, because any board member that asks me if they can speak to the lawyer, I am not gonna deny them. So I don't know what topic was discussed, but I have given anybody who's asked me permission to call the lawyer, permission.
And to do the work. I'm just
No,
saying,
I managed the work, I gave people permission to call the
because,
lawyer.
Joe, this is not just Paul, there's also this whole work being done too.
I'm just telling you, he's demanding. things
Also, that's all I want to know, like I
authorized.
said,
I'm telling you that I have not denied one board member access to our attorney.
that's my answer, I do appreciate the answer.
Yes.
Bruce, can we have copies of the memorandum or the draft memorandum that you prepared in addition to the chart?
I'd be happy to review the file and get back to you.
No, may we have copies?
I will be happy to review it and get back to you.
Are we gonna get copies?
I believe I answered your question. Thank you.
Are we gonna get copies?
Okay, Joe, let's move on now.
No, Bruce, are we going to get?
Tom, did you hear what the lawyer, our attorney just
Yes,
said?
sir. Right.
He's going to review it and he'll get back to you. That's exactly what
Get
he's
back
going
to
to
me
do.
with what, Mr. Capone?
Whatever is there, how's that? He will get back to you.
Will we provide with copies?
Last time, Tom.
We're the client.
Yes,
There is no attorney.
correct. And
client.
last time, the attorney will get back to us with whatever his findings are and give it over to you and me.
Bruce, your bills reflect the preparation of a memo and a draft policy. Will we be provided with those documents?
So it's a draft policy.
I'm going to review it and get back to you.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Abstention.
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. Under the report of the superintendent, Mrs. Walker, do you want to give an update? Sure.
I've been in the schools these last 2.5 weeks, and I can tell you, it's wonderful. It is just so great to see the kids. They're happy. They're glad to see their friends. They're glad to see their teachers, and their teachers, you can tell, are just so happy to see them. You know, all of them together in the same room, not half one day, half the other. I've also gone to the pre-K and kindergarten orientations, and they're all excited. Like Joan, I've been to the back to school nights, and parents seem very happy walking into the building. You know, they weren't able to do that last year. And we have kindergarten, or actually first grade parents who are coming into our buildings, you know, for back to school night for the first time. So it's a pretty exciting time. So, you know, these are the good things that we get to see and do, and, you know, kind of realize this is why we do this. You know, it's been tough for parents these last year and a half. It's been tough for staff, it's been tough for students, and it's been tough for our administrative team, and it's been stressful for the board. So, you know, these are the things that we want to start really focusing on. You know, we have to do what we have to do for health, but, you know, we really have to start talking about education and our kids and how we're going to, you know, make this a great school year for them academically, socially, emotionally. And we're going to start talking about that a lot more, because that's going to be our focus. I just do also want to remind everybody that on this agenda, we have a proposed revised calendar. The board's going to take action on it tonight, and if it's approved, school will be in session on October 11th and November 11th. They were originally PD days, and one day for students has been added to the end of the school year. We'll get that out to the full community after the vote if it's approved, but that's pretty important for us to get out there, so I did want to mention it. And that's it.
Okay, I need a motion for number 2 through 7.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm opposed on number 2. abstentions. Okay, under number 11 is technology. There really isn't anything. Student services. I need a motion for number 1 through 6.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions. Policy is a second reading, so we need to vote on that. On number 1, I need a motion.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. On curriculum, I need a motion for number 1 and number 2.
So moved.
Second, somebody? Curriculum.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. Under finance, I need a motion for number 1 through 3.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question.
Sure.
I've just been hearing a lot of complaints that the buses are being canceled for middle school athletics. Is this gonna affect this? Are we still paying if the buses get canceled or if the games get canceled? Because of no bus drivers from the other team or our team or?
Right, if routes get canceled because the bus companies can't fulfill the obligation, we do deduct for those routes. It is, I mean, it's a constant conversation and discussion about athletic transportation. It's very difficult. We're sometimes literally going day by day, but we are putting together as many routes as we can, but be assured that if a bus company does not run a route, we will not pay for it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. Over to personnel. I would like a motion for number 1 through 7.
So moved.
Hang on, we have to open up our.
Yeah.
Just let them know that we're looking at this.
Let me know when you're ready.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions. I need a motion for number 1.
No, 8.
What? Yeah, number 8. Okay, sorry, number 8, 9, 10, and 11.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. I need a motion for number 1 through 20.
No.
12 through 20. I keep looking at 1. 12 through 20.
Sean, I'd like to make a motion to table number 16.
For some reason, it wasn't printed.
I'll second that.
The curriculum.
They finished that. They want
All of them or
They finished
HR
that.
2.
HR2?
Yeah, they're up to here.
Number 8?
Letter C.
A letter C.
We don't have that on here.
Letter C on the curriculum committee. Attachment HR2.
Yes.
Second.
So point of clarification, since we didn't get really great copies of this, what is C?
Oh, we got copies of C.
I think it's the contact tracing for the nursing, or hourly wage for weekends.
Yeah, it is. It's a contact tracing for the weekend. It would, the attachments are there.
Oh, on this one.
It's HR2.
Okay.
In your paper copies, it's HR2.
We can't do the whole thing.
No.
They're looking,
Letter C.
I think they're.
Letter C.
Speaking specifically about C. It's all the way at the back, where the attachments are.
This is approval of nurses to help just consult as needed on the weekends.
The HR attachments are the very last pages.
Like an athletic event going on and we want to be able to let it go on.
This is for athletic events?
Well, for anything, it's for the nurses.
Because contact tracing.
It's
Yeah, just
it's not contact, it's not contact, it's really, they're not gonna do contact.
I'm a little
They're
confused
just-
because first it was in curriculum, now it's in personnel, but we're just confused because we really never discussed this. So I'd like to just get a little bit more of a understanding what really this is that's voting on.
It's 13 positions at almost $50 an hour for 60 hours on the weekends for contact tracing. So
No, it's up to 60 hours for each for the year, but we don't, it's just as needed. Last year, we had a nurse on duty every weekend. That's not the case this year. So if something happens, say there's a Saturday morning, or Friday night even, we get a, notification that there's a few students positive on the team. In order to let that team continue to practice or play the next day, Saturday, we would get it done, this contact tracing, so the rest of the students could continue with their game. Depending on what's going on, we may need to consult with the nurse, and that's all that's for, is just for consultation services, having to do with, a positive student or students and the contact tracing.
So it is contract tracing. It is.
They will be doing contact tracing
They won't be.
And they'll only be you working as needed?
as needed.
Just think it was representative wrong, that's why.
Okay, yeah.
Do you want to withdraw your?
let's table it until we can have discussion.
If we table it and something happens,
Could you talk into Mike Leland?
if we table it and something happens on this weekend, the kids can't play.
That's not true.
That's not true. They're already.
But if you have to trace, isn't it?
They just said they're not contact tracing.
No, the nurses aren't. The nurses aren't doing it. But we may need to consult. That's what that's
So
about.
basically, it would be a consulting fee for the nurses, basically.
Yeah, like if we have to call them and they're helping us look into this. Matt, you can explain a little bit more, because I see you're shaking your head.
Yeah, so the nurses aren't gonna be contact tracing. The building administrators are gonna be taking care of that on the weekends. If they do take care of it on the weekends, and they have any questions, there's gonna be a pool of nurses that are approved for consultation hours. So if there's an issue at a particular school and that principal needs an opinion on something that's medical based, they may be more comfortable reaching out to the nurse in their particular building. So they would call that nurse. It may take an hour, it may take two, but it's not necessarily contact tracing. It's getting information, medical information, so they can move forward.
So
in
it's
appropriate manner.
consulting only, not contact
They are not
tracing.
going to be contact, and again, they're not going to be on call. Like Mary Ellen said, last year we had a nurse on call, we were paying them all day. This year it's on an hour by hour basis, if they're needed, and there's a pool of them. So principal A might be more comfortable with calling this one particular nurse, or principal B may be more comfortable calling a different nurse. So we're not anticipating a string of hours needed for these nurses. It's just.
So it's
going to
really
be-
just a phone call, to make a phone call.
Correct. It's not for them to make phone calls, it's for the principal to be able to reach out to the nurse.
Yes. Do you want to withdraw your?
I'm gonna withdraw my motion, yes. It was just not presented the right way, I just didn't understand what it was.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have a first and second for number 12 through 20. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed on number 12.
I'm opposed to number 12 as well.
Abstentions? Okay. At this time, do we have any old business? Any new business? Okay, at this time, we'll open it up to the public comment. Reminding everybody you have 3 minutes.
I think it's time.
Amy,
Yeah, hold on a minute.
Amy just announced it if there was an adjustment.
Sorry.
Mrs. Tobacco is close to number 16, not number 12, the personnel.
Okay, you're good, Richard.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Rachel Tanaka, I have 3 kids, 2 in South, 1 in Townsend. I apologize, I haven't been at meetings recently. I had some personal issues that I was dealing with. So there are a number of things that I have questions on that may have been discussed. If they have, please just tell me and I'll look back through the meeting videos. I haven't had time to do that yet. My first question has to do with strategic planning. Before COVID hit, that was a very front burner issue for our district. And I know there's a lot of things coming down the pipe. We had them along in the McBroom presentations, some scenarios that were played out, some enrollment numbers that we were looking at. And I don't believe there's been any update on more discussion with them or what our plans are for things that are coming down the pike. I know we were focused on the COVID stuff as of, past year and a half, but the other issues in the district have not gone away. They've actually likely gotten worse while we haven't been looking. I know I drove past the Target today. The development across from Target looks like people could be moving in tomorrow. I know that's not true, but it went very, very fast. The
They're there already.
Okay. And then you drive on Kings Highway East and that land is gone. Those are gonna be up just as quick. Kids are gonna be coming. Where are they going? Are we ready for them? Do we have the space for them in those schools? Are the schools safe for them? Honestly, the lead report that came out was very concerning to me because it's an indicator to me that our schools are deteriorating. And I don't know how often you've been looking at the lead reports, if this was just a one and done with COVID, or if we actually do those every year. But we have aging buildings. They're aging more and more. We need to deal with these issues. And I know a lot of the focus has been on COVID recently. We can't ignore the bigger picture issues. The things that are happening now are going to affect my property values and my kids' education in 5, 10, 15 years, but we won't. So I need the board and the administration to please start allocating resources to that. I think it's very important. The only other thing I wanted to comment on, again, I haven't been at meetings in a little while, so I haven't seen the dynamic of the board. And I think, Joan, I'm directing this mostly to you. I am kind of flabbergasted at the tone between the attorney and some of the board members. I obviously know this is a divided board. And it's clear who the attorney sides with, quote unquote, on the board. I mean,
I object to that.
no, I'm sorry, Joan, please take control of this. It is not fair the way that people are being treated. The optics are terrible. We, as a public, need to have faith that this board can work together and that the attorney works for the whole board and for the whole district and for the public, not for a few members of the board. Please try to gain control and stop things when you see them happening. It looks awful to the public. We are losing faith. Please. Thank you.
Anybody else? Amy, just the one thing, I know we went over the lead report and we know that some of that information was put out there that wasn't really supposed to be tested and we don't use water fountains anymore, we use refilling stations. Could you kind of clarify that report on how it went above and beyond what needed to be tested? And that's why it looks the way it is?
Well, I think what you're referring to is the fact that we did, and we explained this at previous meetings, we did take a over and above approach to our lead testing. We did test outlets that were not required to be tested under the lead testing, and just to address the frequency of the lead testing. This is only the second time that we've gone through this process. The legislation that came out is within the last 6 years or so. We tested it for the first time in 2017. We just tested it again this summer because that's when we were required to test it. But like I said, we took an over and above approach to all this. We tested all of our outlets, and the legislation and the code dictates that we test drinking outlets. So a lot of the outlets that ended up testing as over the actionable level were not drinking outlets. They were classroom sinks and things of that nature that we weren't required to test, but we did test anyway. And since we did test it, we did publicize it to everybody. So there were some drinking outlets that did test over the actionable level. Anything that was a water fountain or a kitchen sink that was in a food prep area, we addressed immediately. But I just wanted to clarify what Mrs. Minley was referring to, that many of the outlets that we tested, we didn't have to test, but we did because we wanted to test everything. And we tested everything, and we tested it during the summer, and we are addressing everything, but it's really over and above what the code requires.
I just wanted to clarify that. because there were a lot of things. The report looked horrible, horrible, but even in our last report, when those things would have been tested, it would have come up the same way. It's just things that we didn't.
Amy,
have
the
to
list-
test.
There were outlets that we tested this time that we didn't even test last time.
Right.
Because they're not required to be tested, but we took an approach that we were gonna test everything, and we did. And we publicized everything. We were totally transparent with what we tested, all of the outlets that we tested, and we're addressing everything. But again, I just want to state, it's above what the code requires.
Amy, the last time it was tested was 2016.
16 or 17, it was in that range, and that was the first time that the lead regulations came out. We now tested it again because originally it was a 6-year window. They've narrowed that to a 4-year window, and we did comply with that. But again, we tested outlets that we weren't required to test, but our approach was test everything and see where we're at. And that's what we did, and we're remediating everything. But again, if we just tested what was required to be tested, there would have been less outlets reported as above the actionable level.
Laura at 16 Whiteacre. I have some concerns about how we are dealing with quarantining right now, the students. My son's at Nut Swamp, who's currently quarantined. The class that and I understand that there's a lot of privacy issues and a lot of information can't be given out as to, who the contact was and whatnot. But there are a large number of children, especially at Nut Swamp, that are quarantined right now. 13 or 14 of 21 students in my son's class are currently quarantined. My question is, I honestly don't understand how 14 kids out of 21 can be quarantined. And I've done my own investigative work, and I'm not going to use names, but if the children are wearing their masks all day, which I don't want them to be, but we were told that by the children wearing their masks, that the need to quarantine will be significantly reduced because the kids are not, as long as they're socially distanced, which they should be, and they're wearing the mask, they don't need to quarantine. So I went back and forth today, trying to understand how this is happening. I know specifically for my son, it didn't happen at lunch because he sits on the end and the boy that sits next to him is still at school. So that's where I can understand, they're not wearing their masks in the cafeteria. I get it. They also don't wear their masks at gym, but the nurse assured me that they're 6 feet apart if they're inside. So his teacher's still there. She didn't give it to him. So it basically leaves that he was in contact. I was told that he was within close contact of somebody for cumulatively more than 15 minutes during the day. So I don't understand when this happened. And I understand that there's privacy issues, but I think as parents, we have a right to know what's going on, what kind of protocols are being followed. When did my son not have his mask on for 15 minutes in class? He tells me he always has his mask on. He should always have had his mask on. We argued about that, so he should always have his mask on. So I'm really trying to understand what happened. How are 14 kids in one class quarantined for following masking and we're being socially distanced? I know we're on day 12 of school. This is now going on 3 years. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. And my son is home again. And to think that this is going to go on all year, like I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. Wondering every day if I'm going to get that phone call that they have to be quarantined again. who's making these decisions? How are we making sure that the school's following protocol? It doesn't make sense that 14 to 21 kids in one class are quarantined. I understand you've got lunch.
Lori, you have to wrap it up.
Okay.
Sorry.
You have lunch. So I don't know who I can talk to, how we can get some answers.
Let me just say, just email Mr. Kirkpatrick and he will discuss it with you. I can tell you that most of the quarantines were at lunchtime, so I don't know specifically about your son.
Okay.
And you know, there may be reasons why Mr. Kirkpatrick can't tell you specifically, but he can give you a little more information,
That's what
okay?
I would like to know, because I know there was a group of students, there was group 1 and my son was in group 2 that was sent home. So,
There were multiple positive.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, Christine?
I'm a little slow.
That's okay.
Go sit up and shake that.
I'll be some.
Hi, my name is Christine Stockhausen and I live at 167 Statesville Place. I know you can hear me because I can hear the reverberation coming back. Many of you know me, obviously, from my big boot. I'm an actively involved parent and I've been attending Board of Ed meetings here probably for the better part of 20 years. Let me start by saying I don't really care about masks. I had COVID, I'm fully vaccinated, but I do care about rules. And when the rule is to wear a mask, I wear a mask. When I don't have to. Moving the meeting here to avoid following the mask rule sends the message to our kids that rules don't apply if you have enough money to make them go away. And I don't like that. It also begs the question that what other rules can we circumvent by throwing them in? Don't want to redistrict? That's okay. We can privately raise funds and put a windmill house. I'm getting very upset standing up here. And like I said, 20 years I've been attending these meetings. I'm not even gonna look at this anymore. I've never seen people shout at each other on the board like this. I find it amazing. I mean, you have to be civil. You're representing us. It's embarrassing. I'm sitting out there embarrassed by this. And people at home, that's all they talk about. I've never heard the attorney speak so much at a meeting. I've never heard a vice president speak so much at a meeting. I'm used to the president taking control. I keep waiting for you to take control and making this better, and it's not. You can't have this infighting. It sends the wrong message to everyone. I'm gonna go back to the mask thing and why we moved this meeting. I listened to the last meeting, and I heard you say, Joan, that you moved it because you were afraid that it was going to escalate to violence.
That's not exactly what I said, no. No, I didn't never mention the violence.
You said you didn't want our cops to be taxed.
I didn't want our police department to be the ones in the middle of having to find people and remove people from a meeting. That's exactly what I was going
So
at.
you weren't worried about violence or anything escalating?
I was more worried about getting our police involved because our meetings have been out of control. Definitely out of control.
Why do you think they're out of control now as opposed to all of the other times that we've tackled difficult subjects? I mean, we've had teacher strikes, right? Nobody had to get kicked out of that. We've had redistricting meetings. Nobody had to get kicked out of that. Why all of a sudden over masks do we think that we're going to have people removed by the police?
Christine, I think you're missing the main point. I'm going to speak to this because I think everyone's misinterpreted. Well, I'm sorry, you have to address the board, but I think one thing that I'm going to respond to because I'm tired of being attacked on Facebook by you and everyone else.
By me, I've never attacked.
Oh, wait.
Excuse me. The issue with the police is that the police, if she was at North,
I'm not even going.
you were at North, you would be arrested right now or summoned,
I'm
Christine,
not
with your
being
mask off.
Jackie, it's her time. I'm sorry, Christine, finish.
I'm done. This is a joke. This is a joke. I have never attacked anybody on Facebook or anywhere else, and that's insulting. And you know, we're better than this. We are better than this. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Leo Christopherly of Middletown. I gave
this 6-page essay written by Abigail Shire. This is from Hillsdale College. They accept no federal government money. In fact, they don't accept any government money, I believe. And she wrote this book called Irreversible Damage. I guess the key phrase in it is gender dysphoria. Gender is allied to sex, probably not inseparably so, but we have disputes over it. The latest rumor I've read that there's under intersectionality, there are 62 sexual gender identities, 62. I got it this week. Previous to that was 52. This book never mentions the word conscience, but conscience is always there. The laws that Kim Pincus, curricular staff sent me, the 3 laws signed by the government, never mentions the word conscience, never mentions any word conscience. This book never mentions the word conscience, but it's basically hitting doctors of all sorts and counselors in schools. Do no harm, do no harm. There was a point in time, there was no ethics department in any medical school in America. I don't think they still did. Harvard started a literary program under Robert Coles, a psychologist, and he taught literature and he taught ethics, medical ethics to interns, medical interns. The gender euphoria is an emotional, subjective feeling that young boys and girls have. It's being treated medically, chemically, surgically, and they're finding out when the procedures are going through, when they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, pre-puberty, then they get, why didn't they tell me this? I want to reverse it. So they try to get it irreversible damage. Shakespeare has a sentence, conscience doth make cowards of us all. So that's why we have thrown out many things in America, thrown conscience out. Conscience, by definition.
Theo, you have to start wrapping it up. Your time's up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Conscience is the capacity, the power of the mind to judge what is morally right and morally wrong. Pennsylvania University has a law school, it has a Latin motto, which translated in English, which says, the law without morals is meaningless. Law without morals is meaningless. If there's such a thing as gender dysphoria, this book and this essay based on this book never mentions gender euphoria. Euphoria is the opposite. The words never mentioned.
Theo, we have to stop. Our time is up. I'm sorry. We have to keep everybody to the 3 minutes. I'm sorry. You're already up to 4. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you, though.
Thank you, Leo.
Vera Pacifici, just real quickly on the lead for anybody in the public that's concerned. I know at our PFA meeting, our principal went through very specifically what was done in our building. So I think if anybody has a concern, they should definitely reach out so that they can specifically, because the principal, they had it down pat. Also on the VFW, I benefit from not having the mask. I'm claustrophobic. So it does help me, if somebody's immune compromised or is not comfortable with me not wearing a mask, I can put it on, but it's a struggle after a period of time. So for me, I appreciate the accommodation, but I know you guys are gonna not want to hear this, but for all of the single parents, parents with kids with special needs, which we talked about, over 20% of our kids are classified. We really need the accommodation in the Zoom meeting. And I am blessed. I have a senior in high school. I am a single parent as well as have a child with special needs. I have a child, a senior in high school who can pick up the slack for me when I need. Next year he will be in college. It will be a different story. I know you guys would miss me horribly. But I really, I don't necessarily understand the fight as long as it's controlled. So I would really like to see that brought back for the members of the community, that this is just really a struggle to get out, here. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one at the mic, I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions?